Hello and welcome to episode 10 of this 32-part series where I explain every county on the island of Ireland. This time it's County Dublin. Dublin is a coastal county located in the east of the island of Ireland in the province of Leinster. Much of the county is taken up by Dublin City, the largest city and capital of Ireland.
No, it's Cork, boy, the real capital!
Anyway, Dublin borders the counties of Meath, Kildare and Wicklow. The county is only 922 square kilometres in area, making it the third smallest on the island, larger than Louth and Carlow and smaller than Longford. However, Dublin is by far the most populous county, being home to over 1.4 million people, which is more than the entire province of Munster or nearly 3 times as many people as Connacht. It's also about 27% of the state's population and 20% of the islands, or around the same as 16 of the counties with the smallest populations combined. About 1.2 million of these people live within the Dublin urban area, which takes up the southern half of the county. Dublin's Irish name and English name are different but connected. When the Vikings arrived in the area, they built multiple settlements. One was around where the River Poddle entered the Liffey, where Dublin Castle stands today. They named it Dove Lane, which is the Irish for Black Pool. The Irish name for Dublin comes from another settlement further upstream called Baile Orthaclia. Baile is the Irish for town, while Orthaclia means the ford of hurdles. This ford or crossing point of the Liffey stood where Father Matthew Bridge stands today. Some nicknames for Dublin are the Dubs, the Liffey Siders, the Fair City, the Big Smoke and the Pale, referring to the area under British control in the 14th and 15th centuries. The county colours are light and dark blue, and the county motto is Bairte or Briha, which is Irish for action to match our speech. The motto for Dublin City is Obedientia Civium Urbis Felicitas, which is Latin for the obedience of the citizens produces a happy city. Some anthems used for the county include Molly Malone, Raglan Road and Dublin in the Rare Old Times. The car registration plate code is D. There's a lot of local newspapers, some of them are shown here, as well as local radio stations. Keep in mind that being the capital and biggest city in Ireland, many national stations and papers are also based here, such as the Irish Times and RTE. The borders of County Dublin are too interesting. To the south, most of the town of Bray is given to Wicklow. From here, the border follows the Dublin and Wicklow mountains. The border divides the Hazelhatch and Selbridge train station between Dublin and Kildare, as well as the runway of Western Airport. The border with Meath straddles the N2 road and then the Delvin River out to the Irish Sea. Dublin has a temperate climate and has much less rainfall than the western coastline. It is also one of the warmer counties, boosted by the urban heat island effect. The Phoenix Pike weather station has a long-term monthly average temperature of 4.9 degrees in January with the July high of 15.6 degrees. Annual mean precipitation is 773.7 millimetres. Dublin has a varying topography. The south along the border with Wicklow is mountainous, and it is here where the highest point, Kipure, can be found. Most of the forests in the county are located here, though keep in mind that most are monocultural plantations of invasive conifers and not biodiverse native woodlands. The north of the county in comparison is very flat with a few low-lying hills and is mostly used for agriculture. The topography means that the expansion of Dublin City is mostly westward and northwards, only staying near the coast to the south. The main river in the county is the iconic Liffey, which divides Dublin City into its north side and south side. The Dodder and Tolka rivers also drain into the Liffey before it enters Dublin Bay. The bay is bounded by Dalkey Point and Killiney Hill in the south and Howth Head to the north. Howth is a former island which was connected to the mainland by the Sushant to Bolo. North of here is Lambay Island, which is the easternmost point of Leinster, the site of the first Viking raid in Ireland and home to a colony of wallabies. Other offshore islands include Ireland's Eye, Dalkey Island and North Bull Island, which is an important bird sanctuary. Way out here off the coast of Skerries we also have Rockabill, which has a lighthouse and the largest colony of roseate terns in Europe. Returning to the mainland, in the north we find some more bays and inlets such as the Rogerstown Estuary, Portmeadow Estuary and Baldoyle Bay. This northern area called Fingal is extremely flat. The highest point of the Noel Hills is only 176 metres above sea level. Dublin has many beaches such as Killiney, 40 Foot, Sandymount, Portmarnock, Portrane and Rush. The geology of the county is mostly Carboniferous limestone. The oldest rocks are the Cambrian shales around Howth Head, while the igneous granite of the Dublin Mountains dates from the closing of the ancient Diaphanous Ocean around 400 million years ago, which pushed up the batholith forming the mountains. The county has these special areas of conservation and these special protected areas. Dublin Bay is also a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve. Despite being small and highly urbanised, Dublin is a strong agricultural powerhouse, especially the northern region of Fingal. Dublin has the largest average farm size of 47.3 hectares. 41% of the county is used for farming, with a high proportion being tillage such as wheat, potatoes and barley. Pastoral farming also takes place and sheep are reared on the highlands to the south. Fingal has the highest proportion of market gardening in Ireland, growing fresh fruit and vegetables to sell to the large urban market next door. As mentioned earlier, some forestry takes place in the mountains. Fishing is also important, with landings coming into Howth and Skerries, but this industry has seen much decline due to pollution and overfishing. Dublin is the largest industrial centre in Ireland. This ranges from modern multinational technological, electronic engineering and pharmaceutical plants such as IBM, Pfizer and Ipsen, to long-standing factories such as Guinness, which has been brewed at St James's Gate since 1759, when Arthur Guinness got a 9,000-year lease on the site. 3 million pints of the black stuff are brewed here every day. The Guinness storehouse on the site today is the most visited tourist attraction in Ireland, with the name Dublin on Guinness merchandise all over the world. Most manufacturing takes place in modern industrial estates by the M50 motorway on the outskirts of the city, such as in Sandyford, Blanchardstown and Ballymount, as well as around the port. Dublin is a major retail centre with the busy CBD, as well as major shopping centres including Blanchardstown and Dundrum. It's also one of the largest financial centres in Europe, being home to the Irish Stock Exchange, the Irish Central Bank and the IFSC. Set in the redeveloped Docklands, the International Financial Services Centre employs over 35,000 people and generates 7% of the state's GDP. Many international companies have flocked to Ireland due to the low corporation tax and settled in Dublin due to the large skilled workforce. Major offices for Google, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, Trisha and others can be found in the city. Dublin has multiple universities such as Trinity College Dublin, which is the oldest in Ireland, as well as UCD, DCU, TUD and the Royal College of Surgeons. The largest town in County Dublin is Dublin City, Ireland's capital and largest city. Home to the Doyle and Shannon in Leinster House, most government departments and the President in Oiresanuchtaráin in Phoenix Park. The main courts of the country are located here, as well as the National Library, the National Broadcaster RTE, multiple universities, theatres and museums and the National Gallery of Ireland. With its Georgian architecture, fascinating history and lively pubs, it's also the most visited destination in Ireland. Dublin is UNESCO World City of Literature, being home to 4 Nobel Prize winners for it and the oldest library in Ireland. This large green space is Phoenix Park, the largest walled park in Europe, well known for its herd of fallow deer. It's home to Oiresanuchtaráin, Dublin Zoo, the Wellington Monument, which is the largest obelisk in Europe, and the Ordnance Survey. The next largest settlements all serve as commuter towns to Dublin. These include Swords, Balbriggan, Malahide, Skerries, Rush, Portmarnock, Lusk and Donabate. The high cost of housing in the capital has forced many to move out to these dormitory towns, and those in surrounding counties such as Kildare, Meath, Wicklow, Laois and Louth. Also notable are Dublin suburbs, many former towns and villages which were swallowed up by the growing city. Some of the largest ones such as Tallaght and Blanchardstown have populations equivalent to Limerick or Galway cities. Dublin is often divided by its numbered postal districts, best known being the upper class D4 or Dublin 4. The postal districts in the south side have even numbers, while those in the north side have odd numbers. The stereotype historically is that the north side is more underprivileged than the wealthier south side, but keep in mind that this is very generalised and there are of course exceptions. During the Beast from the East in 2018, a snowball fight took place between both sides across the Liffey. The north siders won. In 1994, County Dublin was divided into 4 areas for local administration. These are Dublin City, South Dublin, Dún Laoghaire and Fingal to the north. The county towns of each of these are Dublin, Tallaght, Dún Laoghaire and Swords respectively. Politically, the county is part of 11 Doyle constituencies and the Dublin EU Parliament constituency. The county has also historically been split up into the baronies, which you can see on this map. The barony of Rathdown was divided when County Wicklow was created in 1606. Along with the former borough of Dún Laoghaire, it gives its name to Dún Laoghaire Rathdown. County Dublin is home to Dublin Airport, which is the largest, busiest and most stressful in Ireland, serving nearly 33 million passengers in 2019. It's the 12th busiest in Europe and serves as the headquarters of Ireland's flag carrier Aer Lingus, as well as budget airline Ryanair. It's also one of only 2 airports in Europe to offer US border pre-clearance, the other being Shannon in County Clare. Smaller airports are found at Weston and Casement Airdrome at Baldonnel, which is home to the Irish Air Corps. Most of Ireland's motorways originate and radiate around Dublin, connecting to the infamous semicircular ring road, the M50, which is known as the biggest car park in Ireland. In 2021, Dublin was ranked the 16th worst city in the world for traffic congestion. The M50 connects to Dublin Port via the 4.6km Port Tunnel, which opened in 2006. Dublin Port is by far the busiest in Ireland, and from here car ferries can bring you to Liverpool, Holyhead in Wales and Douglas on the Isle of Man. Ferries used to also operate from Dún Laoghaire, but these ceased in 2015. Ireland's first passenger railway line connected to Dún Laoghaire to what is now Pier Station in 1834. Today the two main terminus stations are Connolly and Houston, serving intercity and commuter trains. The Dublin Area Rapid Transit or DART follows the east coast and stretches from Greystones in Wicklow to Howth and Malahide in the north. Then there's Dublin Bus with well over 100 routes, and the light rail called the Luas, which is the Irish word for speed, which has two intersecting lines. For decades there have been plans to build a Dublin Metro. The current Metrolink plan would join the city centre with the airport. Dublin is currently the only major European capital not to have a rail connection to its airport. Delays cause the cost to increase rapidly, just like the National Children's Hospital. Finally, for transport it's worth mentioning the Royal and Grand Canals, which run west from Dublin to the River Shannon. Once heavily used by freight and passenger barges, today they are used for recreational purposes. Some places of interest within County Dublin include the Guinness Storehouse, the General Post Office, Dublin Zoo, these cathedrals, these castles, these lighthouses, all of these museums, these parks and gardens, Phoenix Park, Trinity College and the Book of Kells, the famous 9th century illustrated religious manuscript containing the 4 Gospels. There's also the massive Glasnevin Cemetery, the National Botanic Gardens, Kilmainham Jail, St Stephen's Green, Croke Park, these monuments, Halfpenny Bridge, the spire on O'Connell Street which cost 4 million, and the overpriced tourist trap district of Temple Bar. Also there's the Poolbeg Chimneys, which are an icon of Dublin. The 206 metre tall decommissioned chimney stacks are visible for much of the city. There's even a model of them in the new Lego store on Grafton Street. Speaking of height, the tallest building in Ireland is Capitol Dock in the redeveloped Docklands, which is 79 metres tall. The nearby hype-shaped Samuel Beckett Bridge next to the iconic convention centre can turn 90 degrees to allow ships to pass through. Some lesser known spots include a tree eating a bench, the haunted Hellfire Club in the Dublin Mountains, Skerries Mills, the mummies of St Michael's Church and a little built atop Viking ruins. The remains of St Valentine are said to reside in Whitefire Street Church, while Christchurch Cathedral has a mummified cash and vash. The oldest pub in Ireland is said to be Brazen Head, while Johnny Fox's in the Dublin Mountains claims to be the highest in altitude. Just don't tell them about Choinspire in Athlone or the top of Coombe on the Cork-Kerry border. O'Connell Bridge is wider than it is long, and has a fake commemorative plaque to a fake priest which was mysteriously installed in 2004. Speaking of bridges, randomly on Google Maps I stumbled across Ireland's most battered bridge in Mulhuddart. Only 2.6 metres in height, the bridge is frequently battered by unfortunate trucks, vans and ambulances. And if you're from Cork, the main destinations include the airport and IKEA. The major festivals in Dublin include St Patrick's Day Festival, Longitude, Temple by Tradfest, Dublin Theatre Festival, Dublin International Film Festival, Bram Stoker Festival, Dublin Fringe Festival and Bloomsday, based on James Joyce's famed literary work Ulysses, which is set in Dublin. Now a brief history. There is evidence of human habitation in Dublin for the last 6,000 years. The first Vikings in Ireland landed at Lambay Island in 795 AD when they raided a monastery there. Around 50 years later they established a settlement on the banks of the Liffey, which would soon turn into the largest slave market in Europe. Many Viking artifacts have been found in the area around Wood Quay. Dublin celebrated its official millennium in 1988, and I was told by a subscriber that you can still buy the milk bottles from it on adverts.ie. In 1014 the Battle of Clontarf was a sign of the end of Viking rule in Ireland, and also saw the death of Irish High King Brian Boru. The Normans from England invaded Ireland in the 12th century and built Dublin Castle, but over the following decades their rule was reduced to this area around Dublin called the Pale. Henry VIII got sick of Irish rebellion, so he declared himself King of Ireland in 1542 with Dublin as its capital. Dublin thrived in the 18th century with its new Georgian architecture, wide streets and grand squares replacing much of the medieval city. After the 1798 rebellion, the Irish Parliament in Dublin was abolished and Ireland formally became part of the UK. Dublin soon went into extreme poverty, becoming one of the poorest cities in Europe. Many Georgian houses were turned into tenement slums. This was worsened during the Great Famine, when Dublin saw a great increase of poor migrants from the starving countryside, while Dublin Port saw mass emigration. Irish nationalist sentiment grew after the famine, but this was put on hold due to the First World War. This leads us nicely into the most defining event in Dublin's history, the Easter Rising of 1916. On Easter Monday, rebels occupied multiple strategic buildings around the city, being headquartered in the General Post Office on Sackville Street, now O'Connell Street. This is where Patrick Pearse read the proclamation declaring an Irish Republic. The fighting was fierce, but hostilities would be halted every day to allow for the feeding of the ducks in Stephen's Green. After a week of much destruction, the rebels surrendered and the leaders were executed in Kilmainham jail. Bullet holes from the rebellion can still be seen in the GPO today. The executions only increased nationalist sentiment across Ireland. The first Dáil was established in 1919 in Dublin's Mansion House by Sinn Féin MPs who refused to take their seat in Westminster. On the same day, the Irish War of Independence began. Two of the most infamous days of the war took place in Dublin. On the 20th of September 1920, the Black and Tans ravaged the town of Balbriggan, burning over 50 homes and businesses and gaining much international condemnation. On the 21st of November that same year, IRA leader Michael Collins's squad of assassins killed 14 British agents and informers. In retaliation, British forces including the Black and Tans opened fire on a Gaelic football match in Croke Park, killing 14 civilians including 2 children and injuring at least 60 more. This day became known as Bloody Sunday. The Hogan stand in Croke Park today is named after Tipperary player Michael Hogan, who was shot dead on Bloody Sunday. A truce was called in 1921 and President De Valera sent Michael Collins and Arthur Griffith to London to negotiate a peace treaty. The new Free State only consisted of 26 of the 32 counties. 6 of the 9 counties of Ulster would remain in the UK as Northern Ireland. Disagreements over the treaty led to a bloody civil war, which started when pro-treaty forces attacked anti-treaty IRA who were established in the forecourts. The civil war ended in 1923, and subsequent governments worked on dismantling the treaty, with Ireland becoming a republic in 1949. Ireland stayed neutral in World War II, but Dublin was bombed multiple times by the Germans in 1941. It may have been a navigational mistake, or as retaliation for Dublin fire brigades assisting Belfast in Northern Ireland, which was bombed severely. Dublin was not left unaffected by the troubles in Northern Ireland. After Derry's Bloody Sunday in February 1972, protesters burnt down the British Embassy at Merrion Square. The 17th of May 1974 saw multiple bombings in Dublin as well as Monaghan by the loyalist UVF. 26 people in Dublin were killed, with the attack being the worst in the history of the Republic. Following decades saw much urban expansion and economic growth, especially after Ireland joined the EEC in 1973. Dublin City was awarded European Capital of Culture in 1991. Dublin is home to the headquarters of the GAA in Croke Park, which is the largest stadium in Ireland. With a capacity of 82,300, it is also the third largest stadium in Europe. It hosts the main GAA finals as well as concerts and even an Eid celebration. Dublin GAA also plays home games at Parnell Park. The Dublin senior hurling team have 6 All-Ireland wins, the last in 1938, and 3 National Hurling League wins. Historically, they've also had a very successful camogie team, with the last All-Ireland win in 1984. Dublin is an absolute powerhouse county for Gaelic football, with the second highest number of total wins, with 30, just behind Kerry's 38. They even got a 6 in a row from 2015 to 2020. The ladies team first won the All-Ireland in 2010 and since won 4 more times. Soccer is also huge, with Shamrock Rovers being the most successful, winning the League of Ireland 19 times and the FAI Cup 25 times. Other teams include their Northside rival Bohemians, as well as Shelburne, UCD and St Patrick's Athletic. The largest soccer and rugby stadium in Ireland is the Aviva, formerly Lansdowne Road. Leinster Rugby plays here as well as at the RDS. Other sports present in the county include golf, cricket, tennis, hockey, boxing, basketball and horse racing. Dublin has the highest proportion of residents being born outside the Republic of Ireland at 21%, with the largest groups coming from the UK, Poland, Romania, India, Brazil and Lithuania. Many languages can be heard in Dublin, but one which can't be is the extinct Fingalian, which went extinct in Fingal by the mid-19th century and was derived from Middle English. Roman Catholicism is the largest religion at 69%, but keep in mind that the 2 most famous cathedrals are Protestant ones. There's too many famous people from Dublin to name, but some of the most well known include Molly Malone, James Joyce, Oscar Wilde, Samuel Beckett, W.B. Yeats, Bram Stoker, George Bernard Shaw, Jonathan Swift, Brendan Gleeson, Colin Farrell, Maureen O'Hara, Gay Byrne, Bono and U2, Sinead O'Connor, The Dubliners, Westlife, The Script, Phil Lynott, Foy Limes and Hogg, Conor McGregor, Kelly Harrington, Padraig Harrington, Robbie Keane, Harry Clark, a lot of Taoiseach but only one president, Sean T. O'Kelly, And then there's Padraig Pearse, Joseph Mary Plunkett, Roger Casement, Cathal Brewer, Robert Emish, Henry Grashin, Theobald Wolftone, and the MGM Lion who was born at Dublin Zoo. Some of the most popular surnames in the county include those from all over Ireland, such as Murphy, Ryan, Kelly, Walsh, Byrne, Doyle, John, Kavanagh, Merry, O'Reilly and Nolan. Due to the diaspora, traces of County Dublin can be found all over the world. For example, you can find Dublin in Ohio, Dublin, Georgia, Dublin, California, Dublin, Belarus, Dublin, South Australia, Clontarf, New South Wales, Drumcondra, Victoria, Ranelagh, Argentina, Fingal, Tasmania and Dublin, Sierra Leone. The Big Smoke, the first city on the Liffey, with the big city in a small county, with some room to spare for beaches, farms and mountains. The centre of Irish politics, media, history, revolution, tourism, sport, literature, transport, finance, industry and Guinness. The capital.
No, it's Kike, boy!
For the next episode, we'll be going back up north to Ulster for County Fermanagh. If you've any facts or information for the next episodes, please comment below or email countiesgw@gmail.com. Thanks to those who helped with information, and subscribe for more videos about Ireland and the world.